Daryl Recommends Podcasts is a podcast recommending series and shouldn't be mistaken as a reviewing one. Opinions about each show are my own and should not reflect what each podcast has to offer. Content warnings aside, I believe if any recommendation in my series interests you, you should give it a chance, regardless of how I personally feel about the show.
Hello, my name is Alfie, and I'm not quite dead. No. I'm Alfie, and if you're listening to this tape, I'm probably dead, or not quite dead, but in a different kind of way, and... Jesus, this all sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? This is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Did I think it would be easy to write my own obituary? Is that what this even is? Honestly, I didn't give it much thought before I sat down. I just knew I had to say something. Leave a little piece of me behind, you know? So, the basics. I'm Alfie. I used to be an A&E nurse, but now I'm just... me. I haven't left my flat in 8 days. I think I'm dying. I know I'm dying. I should be dead already, but I'm not. There's been a lot going on, honestly, and I just need to say all this now before I make any decisions, because whatever I choose, I'm dead or undead. And either way, I'm pretty sure none of this is going to matter to me so much after that. Whatever it is that's happening
Mysterious
to me now,
corpses keep appearing at Alfie's job, patients with their throats torn out, baffling both him and his fellow nurses as to what is targeting people. So when Alfie finds himself the next target of the thing that has been killing them, he is surprised when he is saved by a mysterious man, who happens to also be a vampire. The two of them, now bonded, are drawn to each other, and when another brush with the undead brings Alfie to the brink of death, and undeath itself, he must make a decision, one that will absolutely end in blood. Not Quite Dead is a horror podcast about vampires currently in the middle of its second season. We follow Alfie and his relationship with the vampire Casper, and whether or not he decides that joining him as the undead creature of the night is better than dying. Episodes are recorded as Alfie tells the story and events leading to his predicament. So this show is kind of like, what I mean by that is that this show is recorded via tape recorder, so Alfie's kind of talking about events that already happened through his perspective. So it's very much a person narrating stuff that has already happened. Season 2 kind of goes more into like simultaneously, this just happened to this is happening while it's being recorded. So it gets less out of that like narrative of somebody telling, you know, a story of what's been going on. If you love gay vampires, you'll like this show because all these vampires are very gay. There's just gay vampires everywhere. You want gay Twilight? This is gay Twilight. It kind of reminds me, though, only because, like with my previous episode, because Idle Days had covered the anime, kind of reminds me of what I know about Virtual Prison, but I never actually watched Virtual Prison, only just listened to that one episode of that show. So I can't really say if that's accurate, but it just kind of what it reminds me of for some reason. And it's just, this show is just so incredibly fucking gay. If you want your gay vampires, get your gay vampires. They are right here for you to listen to. Plot-wise, however, I do really enjoy this show. I'm curious about the direction it's going. It does some different stuff with vampires that I find intriguing, especially since they're going on a whole let's kill vampires via other vampires, I guess. It's weird. It's intriguing, and I'm curious to see the direction the show goes into. But who knows? They're currently on a hiatus while Era Major is doing some personal real life stuff. So I'm excited for when season 2 starts back up again.
Side note here, literally probably about a couple hours after I recorded this, Era Major did announce the return of season 2. So there's that.
But, never know. Don't know when it's going to come back. Excited for when it does come back. And this is just like it's not super long either. I think it's like only 20-ish episodes at the time of me recording this. So it's a fairly easy show to catch up with. They're about 20 to half an hour long episodes. So if you like something that's like kind of short but not too short, then I think this is a good show. And Era Major, who's the creator of the show, is also like creator of Spirit Box Radio and Clockwork Bird, which I had covered Clockwork Bird before. So if you like either of those shows, then I think you'll like this one. However, content warning wise, typical horror, but lots of gore and blood and violence. It is narrated though, so if narrated, like, if somebody being like, this guy got his head ripped off, and here's some description of the head being ripped off, that doesn't bother you, versus like, you know, something like in the Silt verses, where if somebody's being dismembered, you'll hear them being dismembered, then yeah, that's just something to be aware of. Also, the show is made for an older audience. There's a lot of sexual themes in it, and some stuff that could be labeled as dubcon, but I'm not into looking up anything about NSFW things to determine if that's accurate. I don't personally go looking for any sexual stuff. Sometimes I'll just happen to come across something that is. That's just basically how I roll. There is one episode, though, I do want to give a... I mean, they mention it in the episode, or at least in the description of the episode. It's a season 1 episode, but they do have one that mentions sexual assault. And although it doesn't go into the details about it, if that's something that is something you don't like listening to, or listening to somebody talk about, then I don't think this might be a great show for you. But that's just something to keep in mind. They don't, like I said, the show is mostly somebody narrating stuff that has already happened. And some of the stuff is like, oh yeah, this is relevant, this part of the story I'm talking about, here's something that's relevant to like my backstory that I'm just gonna bring up briefly. So you don't have to worry about, you know, the main character going into graphic descriptions of sexual assault. But yeah, no, this is a nice little horror show if you're looking for something small that you could quickly catch up to, something that, you know, if you want like, I'm thinking of What We Do in the Shadows, because that is the gayest vampire show I could think of, or like gayest vampire piece of media I could think of besides this show. But if you want something that's like gay vampires but not a comedy, then this show definitely would be right for you. The show isn't really a comedy, so you'll have to worry about like horrible stuff, not horrible stuff. You'll have to worry about just like everything being played off as a joke, like What We Do in the Shadows kind of tends to do. So yeah, if that's what you want. Season 1 kind of made me think that this would work a bit better as a novel than a podcast, but Season 2 kind of changed my mind off of that. Mostly just because, well, most of Season 1 is literally just Alfie narrating stuff that's already happened. Season 2 doesn't go off into that vein completely, but yeah, so it's kind of like somebody reading you a novel, almost. Though I do have one complaint about this show, and this is more of a me thing, just with my circumstances with how I listen to podcasts, is this show is quiet. If you like listening to podcasts in like quiet environments, or like mostly quiet environments, then you shouldn't have that issue. But I like to listen to podcasts while I'm at work, or while I'm at school waiting for class to start, or while I'm driving, or while I'm working on things. So, like chores and things. So I tend to make a lot of noise while I'm listening to shows, but this show is very quiet, and it's only broken into by like the theme song playing at the beginning, which is significantly louder than most of the dialogue happening. So that's like my only little complaint about it, but it's more of a me thing than something that actually like makes the show bad. So, yeah. But anyway, if you want to thank Era Major for giving us more gay vampires that are not just What We Do in the Shadows, go give this show a listen, and then go thank Era Major for more gay vampires that are not just What We Do in the Shadows. Yay! I love my gay vampires. It makes me think of Baldur's Gate 3. I barely know anything about Baldur's Gate 3. I know there's a vampire in it though, I think. I'm like 98% sure there's a vampire in it. So, there you go. But yeah, if you want gay vampires, this is the Gay Vampire Show. Podcast, at least. So anyway, hope you guys are interested in listening to the show, and I hope you guys like this video. And if you have any more podcast suggestions, please leave them. I'm always looking for more podcast suggestions. You know me. I will go listen to it, or at least add it onto my list and listen to it eventually. I also link my social media down below. And I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for listening. And watching the art being drawn on screen. Because, although I'm recording this, I'm not drawing it while I'm recording this. Goodbye!